had come with Joe Morgan to his address, because Andrew Mason had to come there to help Joe Morgan's wife to deliver the baby. And Joe Morgan and Susan Morgan, they had been married for last 20 years, almost 20 years, and this is the first time that they got the opportunity that they would have a baby. And that is the reason that Dr. Andrew Mason had come to their house. Okay, Andrew Mason had come to their house. Now, when they reached 12 Blaine Terrace, it is the address of Joe Morgan. Joe Morgan did not enter the house, and he was waiting outside. He was walking up and down because he was so much tensed that he could not tolerate the tension of getting into the house. So the doctor had to enter. Now what happened? I'm just starting from page number 66 of snapshot. So be ready with your textbook in front of you. Inside, a narrow stair led up to a small bedroom, clean but poorly furnished, and lit only by an oil lamp. So these words, this line tells us that though Joe Morgan works as a driller in a mine, but economically he is not very much good. His economical status is not so high that we may call it here, because the staircase was small, that led to a small bedroom. The staircase was narrow actually. Then it led to a small bedroom, and the bedroom was clean but poorly furnished, not lots of furniture over there, and the furniture that was there is not so it's actually not sophisticated. It's not very costly, and lit only by an oil lamp, and the room the light is there at an oil lamp. Here Mrs. Morgan's mother, a tall grey-haired woman of nearly 70, and the stout elderly midwife waited beside the patient, watching Andrew's expression as he moved about the room. So in that room, two women were there. One, the elderly grey-haired woman, actually she was Susan Morgan's mother, Joe Morgan's mother-in-law, and here it is stated that and here mother, a tall grey hair, Mrs. Morgan's mother. Actually Mrs. Morgan's name is Susan Morgan, that we will come to know. And that grey-haired elderly woman was nearly 70. She was there, and a stout midwife. Midwife means last day we discussed that she was the trained nurse who would actually help the mother to deliver the baby. That both the women were there in the room, and they were watching Andrew's expression as he moved about that room, waited beside the patient. Now I should say something, that though it has been stated as patient, but I don't feel that a pregnant mother who is going to give birth a baby, that mother could be termed as a patient, because patient means somebody who is suffering from a disease, and getting pregnant is not a disease. So though here the narrator described as patient, but really I think that a mother who is going to give birth a baby should not be termed as a patient. So here whatever, both the women they have been waiting there in that room, and they were watching keenly the expression of the doctor when the doctor entered the room. "Let me make you a cup of tea, Dr. Betch," said the former quickly after a few moments. Here the elderly woman offered a cup of tea to the doctor. That, "Let me make a cup of tea for you, Dr. Betch." Betch, actually the word Betch is used as a deering term. The dear, such Dr. Dear, such as. So no such meaning over there as Betch. Here the word Betch has been used as a deering term. Now said the former quickly. Here former means that elderly woman. After a few moments, when the doctor actually entered the room and she was checking the mother's condition, means the would-be mother's condition. Andrew smiled faintly, and at this Andrew smiled faintly. Why? Because Andrew, why? Because the answer is there. He saw that the old woman, wise and experienced, realized there must be a period of waiting, that she was afraid he would leave the case, saying he would return later. Actually, why the elderly woman, a question may come sometimes, why do you think the elderly woman offered a cup of tea to the doctor? Because the elderly woman realized that there might be a time of waiting for a period, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. And in that case, if the doctor would say, okay, it would take time, 2 hours, 3 hours, so I would come back again. And the elderly woman did not want that the doctor would come, doctor would go from there and come after 2 hours. The elderly woman wanted the doctor to stay over there. So to make the doctor stay, the elderly woman actually offered a cup of tea to the doctor. Okay, and the doctor realized it, and that's why doctor smiled. Understand? Now, here, don't fret, mother. I will not run away. Here, doctor realizing this, that what the mother might be thinking, what the elderly woman might be thinking, that if I would actually offer a cup of tea, then the doctor might not go from there, and doctor would stay. And that elderly woman wanted the doctor to stay. Okay, so though it was, and she seemed that it might be a period of waiting for 2 hours, 3 hours, and that is the reason. At this, the doctor told, don't fret. Don't fret means don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, mother. I will not run away. And the doctor assured the mother, I am not going out. Down in the kitchen, he drank the tea which she gave him. And then the doctor, actually doctor also realized that it would take time. It's a time, it's a period of waiting. It might take 2 hours, 3 hours before the mother would really deliver the baby. So the doctor went down in the kitchen, and he drank the tea, and she gave him, and the elderly woman actually had given the tea, and the doctor drank the tea in the kitchen. Overwrought as he was, he knew he could not snatch even an hour's sleep if he went home. Overwrought means extremely tired. The doctor was extremely tired. Overwrought as he was, the doctor was extremely tired. But still, he knew he could not snatch even an hour's sleep if he went home. But the doctor was very sure that if he went home also, then also he would not have much time, even 1 hour's time, okay, for sleep. So he decided to stay over there. He knew too that the case here would demand all his attention, and he also knew that really the case might demand all his attention, because the case might turn to a critical phase, and then his presence would be very much important. So he had decided that not to go there. A queer lethargy of spirit came upon him. A queer means strange. Lethargy, lethargy means that passivity, that passive. He is not feeling very active, that he becomes very passive. So that queer lethargy has come upon him. And why not? Because it was midnight. Physically he was very tired. Not only that, as it is stated in the pre-reading of that book, that he had a bad phase, he had a quarrel with his lady love, so mentally also he was very tired. His mood has been spoiled because he had some hot exchange of words with his lady love Christine. So physically, both physically and mentally, he was exhausted, and that is the reason that he was feeling very lethargic there. Now, he decided to remain until everything is over. So the doctor decided, no, it would be better that he should stay there in that kitchen. He should sit there in the kitchen until everything was over. So the doctor decided not to go back and stay over there. An hour later, he went upstairs again, noted the progress made, came down once more, and sat by the kitchen fire. Yes, that an hour later, he went upstairs again. After sitting there 1 hour, he went to see the would-be mother, the pregnant woman, noted the progress made. He just checked it, that the more progress of delivering the baby, came down once more and came again on the and sat by the kitchen fire, and he was sitting in the kitchen by the side of fire. It was still, except for the rustle of a cinder in the grate and the slow tick-tock of the wall clock. Now he realized that it was still. Why not? It was midnight, past the midnight. Except for the rustle of a cinder in the grate. Here, rustle of a cinder means, here grate means in the fireplace, and cinder is the sound of charcoal is getting burst in the fire. This is cinder, okay? when a charcoal coal is getting burst in the fireplace. So this is the sound that he could get, and the slow tick tock of the wall clock. Wall clock was there. So the situation, the environment was so lonely, was so silent, so quiet that even the tick tock sound of the clock was really audible. No, there was another sound. Now he could listen another sound, the beat of Morgan's footsteps as he paced in the street outside. Remember, Joe Morgan did not enter his house because he was so much tensed. So from the time when the doctor entered the room, Joe Morgan, the would-be father, the worried would-be father, he had been walking up and down in front of his house, and Dr. Andrew Mason could listen that sound also. So sometimes question may come that how many sounds he could listen sitting in the kitchen. Actually, three sounds. One, the cinder of the grate, the rustle up a cinder in the grate, the tick-tock sound of the wall clock, and the footsteps of the worried Joe Morgan, who had been walking up and down in front of his house. So he could listen that three sound in that midnight. The old woman opposite him sat in her black dress, quite motionless, her eyes strangely alive and wise, probing, never leaving his face. And the doctor was sitting one side of that kitchen. Opposite to that opposite side, the old woman, means the mother of mother-in-law of Joe Morgan, the mother of Susan Morgan, she was sitting here. And this is the description of that woman. The name of that woman has not been given. She has been described as the elderly, grey-haired woman of nearly 70. That she was wearing a black dress, and she has been actually sitting there, quite motionless. She was also sitting still, quite motionless. Her face strangely alive and wise. This is the description of that elderly woman. Sometimes it comes that given character sketch of the elderly woman also. So we need to write down these words, that as the doctor found that his eyes were alive and wise. Looking into her eyes, the doctor realized it was alive and wise. Probing, what does it mean? Probing means penetrating, as if sometimes it happens that a few people are there, but if we look into the eyes of that people, it seems to us that with that eyes the man could read my insight. Man could read what I am thinking. This is known as probing eyesight. That through the eyesight, as if the woman could read what the doctor was thinking about. So this has been stated as probing. Means the eyesight that could penetrate into somebody to whom she was looking. Quite, and her strangely live voice, probing, never leaving his face, and the woman was looking fixedly at the Andrew Manson's face. His thoughts were heavy, muddled. Now, this is Andrew Manson. Andrew was also thinking, sitting, idly. She was very tired, and his thoughts was heavy, muddled. His mind, because his mind was also very heavy, because he was feeling sorry what had happened, that evening. The episode he had witnessed at Cardiff station still obsessed him morbidly. The episode that he had witnessed means he actually had seen. That episode he had experienced also at that Cardiff station really obsessed his mind morbidly. Morbidly means sadly. Obsessed means it actually filled his mind sadly. He thought of Bramwell, foolishly devoted to a woman who deceived him sordidly, of Edward Page, bound to the Swiss Baldwin, of Denny, living unhappily apart from his wife. Actually, our doctor had a quarrel with his lady love Christine. Now, the doctor was thinking about his friends who had been deceived by their lady love and even a wife, and who were leading unhappy life after marrying the girl of their choice. Now here he was thinking of Bramwell, that he knew some Bramwell was there, foolishly. Our doctor knew Bramwell, might be his friend, foolishly devoted to a woman. That Bramwell, he loved. Foolishly devoted means he loved with his all heart to a woman who deceived him sordidly, and that girl deceived actually with Bramwell sordidly, but very starkly, of Edward Page. Remember, Edward Page was the doctor under whom actually Andrew Mason started his practice. Now, Edward Page, bound to the Swiss Baldwin. Here, the word Swiss means bad-tempered. Baldwin was the name of Denny. Swiss is a bad-tempered Baldwin. Denny is the place that Edward Page, he was living unhappily apart from his wife. Bound to his wife Baldwin, and Swiss means having bad-tempered. And now, because of the bad-tempered of his wife, Edward Page had to live a lonely life away from his wife. His reason told him that all these marriages were dismal failures. So, as he could remember that these were the love marriages of Bramwell, of Edward Page that he knew, and he was thinking about that person's, and now he knew that at present both of them were leading an unhappy life away from their fiancé and failure. And these are the examples that these marriages were dismal failure. Dismal means in the havoc way, failures, extremely failure. It was a conclusion which in his present state made him wince, and actually made him wince means he was very much surprised, he was confused at what to do, what conclusion he should reach. He was thinking that whether he should marry Christine, whether he should actually come away or go far from marry Christine. He should marry Christine, or he should come away from Christine. He was confused, that what decision he should take, what conclusion he wanted to reach. Now, he wished to consider marriage as an idyllic state. Yes, he could not otherwise consider it with the image of Christine before him. Now, he thought that marriage should be an idyllic state. Idyllic state means there should be no quarrel, there should be no misunderstanding, there will be love, there will be understanding, there will be a bonding. And whenever he thought about Christine, he could not found that why my married life would not be like that. This has been stated. See that it was now here that he could not consider otherwise it with the image of Christine before it. Whenever he thought about Christine, he always thought that my life would be my married life would be an idyllic one, where there will be no space of misunderstanding or quarrel. It must be an idyllic state where there will be bonding, there will be love, there will be understanding, and all this. Now, her eyes, signing towards him, admitted no other conclusion. And whenever he thought about Christine, he always found that Christine's signing eyes, looked at him, actually looking at him. He could not find any other conclusion but to marry Christine, and to lead a very, ideal life. That he wanted, that to lead a very happy life. That was his intention, that was his aim, that after marrying Christine, he wanted to lead such a life. But the example of Bramwell and Edward Page, it was giving him a different example. Now, it was the conflict between his level, doubting mind, and his overflowing heart which left him resentful and confused. Now see, it was the conflict between his level, doubting mind, and his overflowing heart. Doubting minds, now his level where he was, that he was about to marry Christine. This was the level. Doubting mind, he had some doubt whether his marriage would not be a failure one, or whether his married life would be a successful one or a failure one. He had his doubt. And overflowing heart means this is emotional heart, always become emotional, that he loved Christine very much. He could not think anybody apart from Christine. So there was a confusing between his brain and heart. That brain was thinking that he was not sure about that whether his marriage would be a successful one, or it would be as failure as his friends that he was thinking about, like Bramwell and Edward Page. But his heart was overflowing with emotion. So there was a conflict between his reasonable brain and overflowing emotional heart, that he was feeling this. He let his chin sink upon his chest, stretched his legs, stared broodingly into the fire. He was just let his cheek here, that it here, he let his chin sink upon his chest, something like this. He was sinking. His chin laid him on his breast, stretched out his legs. He was sitting on the floor in the kitchen, stretched out his leg, stared broodingly into the fire. And he was looking into the fireplace. And broodingly means thinking. He was very much thinking. He remained like this so long, and these thoughts were so filled with Christine that he started when the old woman opposite suddenly addressed him. He was thinking just this. He was looking into the fire, and he was broodingly, he was thinking very much about Christine and all these, that he had been sitting there about so long. And then his thoughts were so filled with Christine. He was only thinking about Christine, how he would lead his life, how it would be his life if he would come away from Christine. All this he was thinking, and he was so much absorbed in his thinking that he started when old woman opposite suddenly addressed him. He started means startled. He was startled. He trembled. He trembled when the old woman opposite him addressed him. The old woman actually wanted to tell him, so the old woman actually addressed the doctor, and at this the doctor startled because he was thinking. His mind was totally absorbed in the thinking about his lady love, Christine. Now her meditation has pursued a different course. Now two persons were there in the room, one the doctor and other the elderly woman, as if both of them were busy in their thinking, and the elderly woman was also as if she was meditating on a topic. And really her meditation, actually she had been meditating about how these all things would be over, how actually my daughter would be when she would deliver the baby, what baby there would be, whether boy and girl. So might be the old woman was thinking all about. So the old woman was meditating in their own way. Doctor was thinking and meditating in his own way. Susan said not to give her the chloroform if it would harm the baby. She is awfully set upon this child, Dr. Birch. Now the elderly woman informed this to the doctor. Susan said, Susan means Mrs. Morgan. Susan means her daughter. So Susan said not to give him the chloroform. Chloroform has been used for actually unsensing the patient. So Susan had requested her mother to tell this to Dr. Andrew Mason, not to give any chloroform if it would harm the baby, because chloroform, if it would harm the baby, then Susan actually, the pregnant mother, had told this to her mother to tell this to doctor, not to give this. And she is awfully set up on this child. Set means intent, and really, and the old mother told that my daughter Susan is really very much intended to have the child. Her old eyes warmed as a certain thought. She added a low tone. We all are, I fancy. See, the elderly woman told, I fancy means I imagine, I think that not only Susan, we all are, means we all are awfully set upon the child. We all are very much intended to have the child. He collected himself with an effort. See, he collected himself with an effort. The doctor collected himself. Why? Because his mind had been scattered in the thinking, as if collected means we just collected the things as if it has been scattered in the floors, as if his mind was also scattered as he was thinking about his lady love Christine. So he collected his mind, he just collected his mind, with an effort. It wouldn't do any harm, the anesthetic, he said kindly. That will be all right. And the doctor, as if the doctor was assuring the old woman, no problem, the anesthetic would not do any harm, that will be all right. The doctor told this, the doctor assured this to the old lady. Afterwards, what happened? We will see in our next class. It's already time's up. So thank you for being with me, and I'd like to suggest you to continue these classes because it's a great story. We are having another 2 classes. We may complete the story. So thank you very much for being with me in the class, and we will continue in our next class. Thank you.